Welcome to the Soul of Sosa podcast. And for my guest today is going to be JT Linde. JT and I are on a men's team together. And the podcast is going to be about what is men's work, what is a men's team, what it means to be a man in this modern day world. We get into shadow work, we get into our emotions, we talk about the life-changing decisions that have moved us forward in our lives. We talk about how to find the right group of individuals to plug into and to support you in this life. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. But for those who don't know what a men's team is, let's start there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you for creating this platform for men to come and share their experiences in the community. And I just want to recognize and honor you really quick and how you show up. I've seen you show up consistently on the men's team, giving your all, bringing value, bringing your full piece of the puzzle to the table. And that has blessed my life. And I'm fortunate and thankful for that. And I mean that. All these words sound like toxic positivity, but you know, and I know that through the men's work, it's something that's changing my heart and becoming authentic and genuine. And I also see how you show up in the workouts. You show up and you bring your full self, and you show up week in and week out. And I want to recognize that in you, and you bring your all. So
Appreciate it.
I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to be in your circle and to be in your life. And that's why I wanted to be on today, because I have a high level of respect for you, your story, your vision of where you're going, and I'm just with you in it.
I received that. It's beautiful. You're actually one of the first people that I met at the Empowered Brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's this incredible group of leaders and people who just want to be in community with like-minded people. Mm-hmm. Every Thursday, 9 a.m., I show up there, and you're very welcoming. You're very welcoming, and you were actually the first person to tell me about Rising Man.
Really?
I think we were just talking by chance or something, and
yeah.
You didn't show up the week
by
after.
Chance.
I think you were doing some hockey, I believe. But
yeah.
You and Matt Key were really instrumental in welcoming in. And if you've ever been new in a school or any organization, it's pretty important to find someone who's going to be that person to connect you and to make you feel welcome. And that was you, man.
I
appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I strive to be, I want to be that person that I didn't have for myself for a long time. And a lot of times I felt like the lone wolf and outcast, like I really didn't fit in. I was in these communities, different pockets of people, even if you're in leadership, but you feel a little lonely, you feel isolated, even within a mass of people. So I make it a point to be welcoming. And I know what that feels like to not be welcome. So I always make it a point, to acknowledge and recognize new people and see their story. There's a reason why people show up. There's a reason why I showed up, right? So there's a reason why you were there, and I got to hear the why behind that as well.
It took a while, for anybody for anybody who's in the same boat. A lot of times as men, we start off as lone rangers, like you said, and it takes the same kind of guts or energy to get off the couch to go to the gym, just as you would to church or to a community circle like that, which is the level one barrier of entry that you have to have, is getting out of the door. If you just show up, you're almost all the way there. And that's the key to success, really, is if you can just show up, you're always going to be thankful you did.
That's 90% of it, I think.
How did you first start showing up? How did you first start getting out of the door, out of the couch?
Well, I was following Empower Brotherhood and some Sacred Son stuff before I moved to Austin. And for the 4 years leading up to Austin, there were a lot of confirmations, and I felt God drawing me here. And I had a relational transition from Florida, and I was looking to just jump into the deeper things of faith and the deeper things of brotherhood and community, connection, accountability, so I could bring my gifts and also receive the gifts of others and grow exponentially. And so I dedicated this past year to doing that, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, I heeded the call, came to Austin, and one of the first things I did was jumped into Empower Brotherhood. I was watching Stefano Silvando's post, and I would also see Samson Strength and some other guys on there, Vladimir Montoya, Garen Jones, Preston Smiles, and a lot of what they shared resonated with me. You know, although they're not, you know, fully entrenched in the church circles that I'm in, there's a lot of gold that they share and value and wisdom and their life experiences. And to see men that are living lives that bring value to others that I can role model myself after, right? And fully embody those things. Because at first it's just like you're regurgitating things they'll say, but then it becomes it gets in your spirit, it gets into who you are, and you become that in the community, right? And it's a lot easier to integrate and do that and embody that fully when you're running with a collective group of men with that wisdom, with that synergistic energy. And you support me, I support you. I mean, today when I gave my all in that workout, my partner in the workout, my buddy Daryl, who just is back in town from Nicaragua and Mexico City. He was actually in Hidalgo region, side topic. I'm on the ground and I'm done. I'm just gassed. And this hand comes and grabs me and rips me up effortlessly. Now I'm 210 pounds. He pulls me up, boop. And then I'm like, okay, then he's going. Then when he was done, I just pulled him up. And that's what it is, man, in life, where we get crushed, or if we're just exhausted with a good passion that we're putting our energy into, other men to pick us up and to carry us at that time. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Love that. And it takes humility. It takes that awareness to admit you do want community and you don't want to live this life by yourself.
Yeah.
Especially as you get older, you start slowing down and looking around. I remember when I was in my younger 20s, it was all about just climbing the ladder, making money, success. And I burnt myself doing that. And it took a few plant medicine journeys for me to really slow down and to really get introspective. And it's just drastically important to find your community and your band of brothers, because if you just have your family members or your high school buddies that you grew up, or college buddies, or even work buddies, you're there by default. You actually didn't choose to be in community together. So you're just going to get whatever they give. And a lot of times it's not what you are looking for.
That's a great topic. You know, I was talking to a friend last night about this at the Cheesecake Factory before they closed. We were talking about releasing things that we've been clinging to in our lives, right? And for me, some of the things are anchors of old friendships, people I still love to this day. So that way you can raise the sails in your ship and make room for the great. You know, some things in our lives become anchors that hold us down and keep us at port when we're meant to sail, when we're meant to catch that wind, right? Yeah. So now I'm catching wind, and those people I'm still in contact with, but they're not like in my inner circle where I run with daily. And I miss a lot of them. I do. But that's okay. I don't look back. I move forward. And for me to be the best friend in their life and to show up as my full, powerful, full potential self, right? Best version of myself, I've got to move forward, because the old JT isn't going to be able to be of value to them anymore, right? Where I was 2 years ago. Yeah.
I can resonate with that completely. Anytime you get away from your comfort zone, or anytime you get away from the pack that you're used to, you do have that introspection moment. Like you peep your head above the crowd and you start to look within and find out what's authentic to you, what do you resonate with. And when you get true with yourself, then you're going to want to find others who have done the same thing. And like you're saying, you know, for some it's more ingrained than others. For me, I moved a lot. So I can see how gripping and powerful like those lifelong friends can be. Yeah. Even if they're not in the right alignment as you. But for me, it was a bit easier because I had to move around a lot. So it cuts the roots, and it allows me to truly find out, what am I looking for in a brother? What am I looking for in a friend? And what am I looking for in a mentor? And I've gone through a few of them. You know, the first mentors I had back in the day, it was through a network marketing company. So there was always an agenda. There was always you have to perform, or you have to do this, or we have to essentially just narrow the spectrum of our interactions to just the business or just the production. And I didn't like that. And it was pretty tough to get out of that kind of environment, because that's all I had. And to restart and go back to zero was pretty tough, which you had to do, right? You started from scratch when you moved out here.
I did. And now what I'm doing now, the base and everything involved on all categories and tiers is on a totally different level. It's on a higher level of income. Isn't that crazy? And I was already like crushing it in that category back home, and I had to give that up at the peak, right? I was in Hawaii this time last year with my dad, and that was a peak for me. I think it was my 7th consecutive President's Club with the company I was with, but it was starting to kill me. I was wrapped up in my identity within that job. So I thought my self-worth at the core was intrinsically connected to my production. If I'm not producing, I wasn't doing good. If I was doing good. So I was on this roller coaster of emotion, right? And I realized I needed to take a step back. Plus, I was on the phone for 4 or 5 hours a day while I was in Hawaii. So I'm on a catamaran, and I got somebody on the phone, and I'm like, no, it's not going to. My dad was like, hey, you got to look at this. So the funny thing is, when you hit those mountain peaks, you'll see other mountain peaks that are your next mountain to scale. And I heard directly, from the Lord, I was like, my next mountain peak, and I saw it, was ego death. And I'm going through that still this past year. And it's been painful, but it's been beautiful. It's kind of like fire that burns away all the dirt and makes the gold shine brighter. Yep. It expands your heart and your capacity, your bandwidth to hold more. And I was carrying so much of my own things that I thought I needed and wanted, that I didn't have any room for the greatest things in my life and gifts that he wanted to give me. So I had to let those go and drop those for a while. And that was uncomfortable. I'd put myself on that surgeon table to have that heart surgery done on me. Yeah. And to choose to get back up there daily I got to learn like the gentleness, the kindness, and the love, and the things that had to be cut out to make room for the best and the greatest things.
So you were a completely different JT last year.
Yeah, I thought I was like a true Christian, thought I was this crushing business guy. People just put up with me because I was bringing value in monetary realms. And that's not who I was supposed to be, and who I didn't have a piece at that. A lot of times we have these avatars and we wear these masks, right? And then you go into sadness, anger, depression. And I didn't let myself get there, but I started to build up anger, resentment towards myself, and started to have self-destructive tendencies. That's when this mask you're wearing becomes too heavy. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. This isn't who I'm created to be in the fullness of it. It's a form of godliness, but it's denying the power and the connection to the real source. And that's what I was doing. I became the god of my own universe. And I thought I could just throw money at things and it would go away. It's not okay. And I did that in every category of my life for a while. Yeah.
One thing you said that was powerful is you had your identity tied to your performance.
Yeah.
And I think that really speaks to any man that is really going out there producing and wants to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
So the have-nots, the people who didn't get the silver spoon, the people who had to make something of themselves, there is that huge realization of the pendulum that I've been extreme hustle, grind culture.
Yeah.
How did you balance that? How did you integrate the rest? How did you incorporate, just my existence is enough?
I had to learn to feel again because I was so numbed out with the speed of, contemporary society and culture. I was on this hamster wheel and then I would leave work and I didn't know how to turn it off. So I'd be up till 2, 3 a.m. brainstorming on how I can do more creative things and how I can bring more value to others. And I got a little crazy there for a minute. I was like memorizing what everybody in the office's favorite candy was. I was making like mac and cheese for 200 people like on Thursdays. It was crazy. I was just doing a lot. And It was fun. It's fun to look back at that. But I was spinning the wheel so fast and moving so fast that I didn't know how to slow down, regulate my system, and just be present. And just make eye contact and be present. Yeah. And now I'm there, and I can feel into what's going on. I can feel into some of the anger and sadness of my past and the unforgiveness that I've had, that I threw under the rug, right? I can feel into the good things. I'm finally at a place where I don't keep people at a stiff arm. I let them in, even if I know there's going to be some hurt. You know?
Big time. How do you let people in? How do you become vulnerable that way?
It's a choice. It's a choice. You know, I'll tell you what, I built these walls of self-destruction. Well, I built these walls around me, and they were rooted in self-destruction for a long time, right? Pushing myself to the limit in different categories. And it seems interesting that self-destruction can be a barrier and wall. But the reason I did that was, if I can push myself to the limit and hurt myself so much, then no one else can get close to hurt me like that, because I have the scars that you shot an arrow at me, it bounced off. I've already done way more than that to myself. The negative self-talk that drives me, the limits I push myself to, you know, so I felt untouchable for a long time. But my heart was really hard and started to harden because I wouldn't let anyone else in. Yeah.
I really resonate with that too. And again, with these plant medicine journeys, it really
opened you up.
Does the ego death, and it does open you up and open up the heart and connect with yourself. Which, if you haven't, there's many ways, not just psychedelics, breath work and retreats and all kinds of things to connect with yourself. Because if, in my younger 20s, when I was all about success and money and trying to make it to the top, because I thought I had a good vision in mind, but I started treating people as a means to an end. Like, what can you do for me? Or what's your work background? Or how much money are you making?
Sure.
So that way I could recruit you, because I was in a recruiting business.
Yeah.
So I was always just trying to look for talent to recruit. So you kind of put a price tag or a dollar
plug
figure.
and play, yeah.
And that was a bad way to live.
You're living a life of qualification and disqualification, and you put people in those categories if they fit with your narrative.
Exactly.
And they no longer become a full human being at that point. They're just a number.
Exactly.
Scary place to be.
It was, and
I'm glad you realized that.
I'm glad too, because there was people that I met, came over to my house that, and I was just going through so many people.
Yeah.
I would meet, to find these people, I would just meet them at coffee shops, bookstores, or wherever.
Yeah.
High levels of recruitment, numbers needed. So I went through a lot of people, hundreds and hundreds a month.
Yeah.
And I never connected with any of them. And some I would forget.
That's profound.
There may be some rare occasions, right, of here and there, but there's people that I would run into them again, and they would say, "Yeah, I met you, this and this."
You remember?
Yeah, I wouldn't remember. That's how disconnected I was. And that's terrible. And
oh my gosh.
I was asleep. And
wow.
This is before I had the awareness that I was not only consciously asleep, but I was depressed, and I was just.
You look alive and you're smiling, but it's like inside. It's like the zombie apocalypse, right? You're in your own world the whole time. Everything's just in here.
You can relate with that.
Wow.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was drastic, and I did have to go through remorse and grief.
Yeah.
That so many of even with my own family members.
Sure.
I just was never present. I guess that's what we're talking about. I was just never fully there. My mind was always somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I love getting those constant reminders too from people like Tim Ferriss. He loved what he said, that if you're putting something off because you're sacrificing right now to one day have something greater, that one day is never coming. Your life is right now. And if you can't give yourself a minute or an hour a day to be living that full picture life, for me, it was like, okay, I want to be playing soccer more. I want to be just enjoying my life and not having to wait till I have more success or more time freedom or anything. Like, how can I have it all right now? Not all at once, but how can I create that lifestyle?
I hear you on that. And I remember I had the Tim Ferriss Tools of Titans, right? The orange one. I had that on my work desk, and I would always leave it open with different quotes. I love that he interweaves the different commonalities and threads from different walks of life, from like professional snowboarders to generals to business gurus in tech, right? Yeah. To teachers, all kinds of different people, doctors, professors. And there's always just gold quotes in there. And you're talking about sacrifice, right? And I think our life, something I'm learning in this past year, is everything is ceremony, right? The way we treat things. So this to me is sacred. This is ceremony now. This is bigger than ourselves, even just this podcast. That's why I honor you for starting it. And as it pertains to sacrifice, I learned something that we're always sacrificing, right? So for example, this morning I had a choice to go to the Empowered Workout at On It Gym, where you showed up and I showed up. We both made that choice to sacrifice, right? Now, if we chose not to make that sacrifice, we would be sacrificing still by staying home and missing out on that workout. And what does that mean? Our body's suffering by not operating in the highest potential. So now we're making a sacrifice to not live in our fullest health and expression of what we're capable of. So either way, we're sacrificing, but we chose the worthy sacrifice, right? The greater sacrifice. And that way we leave that suffering out of it. Yeah, is there going to be pain? Yeah. And that comes with what it means to be a man, right? Showing up for yourself, showing up for the community, and learning what that means to embody that and show up for others. And not just, I don't feel like it today, right? You hear that in your mind, I don't feel like that today. Well, what about the other men? So I show up for them even if I don't feel like it. And they show up for me. You show up for me even if you don't feel like it. And we heard some of those men today that shared that. They shared, I didn't feel like showing up today. It scared me a little bit because I knew it was going to be intense. But I did it anyway because I didn't want to miss out on this community and let you guys down. And when they showed up, other men carried them and vice versa. And they got to see that the value they bring. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Love that.
Sacrifice, man.
When you do those kind of sacrifices, there's some that fill you up. It's like a cup of water that,
oh, yeah.
I'm gonna scoop in, and then I'm going to be able to pour into myself just by being there, just by giving to others, or just by receiving. And then there's actions that we could do that take the water out, that make us feel more drained. And I've gotten to the point where I know what fills me up, and it's just being mindful and engaging how you feel throughout the day. And for me, that's a big thing for success is how can I feel better right now? Like if I'm at work, sometimes I have to work in the sun, and if I get a headache or my energy level's like, oh, it's time to eat lunch, maybe I should get some electrolytes.
Yeah.
Just always using the barometer of how good do you feel right now as my compass. And when I go to the Empowered Brotherhood, when I do podcasts like this, when I go to our men's team, when I read, when I meditate, when I have a whole list of things that I do that fill me up completely.
Yeah.
It make me feel like my life's complete, like I'm not missing out on anything.
Yeah.
What do you do for JT? What do you do that is just your cornerstones of what fills you?
Oh, that's a great question.
Because you do a lot. You're around. You're a connected, networking guy. But what's your main things?
Which category do you want to hear about?
All of it. Let's go.
Yeah? Okay. I'll start with how I start my day. And I start my day in the Word. I get into the Bible, and that energizes me. That's a choice I make. That's a sacrifice because I could do something else in that time. Some people get up and do push-ups or whatever, go on a walk or a run. That's part of my stuff too. But the first thing I do is get enlightened with the Word. And that brings clarity, vision, and every day it's like, which plane am I going to take off with today? Holy Spirit, what are you saying today? Where are we going? Where are you leading me?
You just open the
What are
book?
you feeling? Yeah. And he'll guide me. Yeah, he'll guide me in where I read. and it's beautiful. And the cool thing is the same themes show up in the circles of other people reading that have the Holy Spirit as well. Yeah. So I was reading the book of Daniel this past week, and last night I was at Sound Mind at Red Rocks Church. It's a mini-series on mental health, and it's beautiful, man. The two pastors, Doug Weckerman and Ryan Weckerman, are breaking down mental health, and they went into Daniel. And I was like, I was just in this 3 days ago, and they were in it 3 days ago, preparing for it. So it's just like we're in the common thread and the common theme.
So those synchronicities are pretty incredible. Like, you're just juicing me up to open up my Bible and to start digging for nuggets of gold.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I was younger, I think every man has to wrestle with their views on God, heaven, hell, the devil, evil. Like, all these are very important topics that everybody has to come to terms with and understand for themselves. I was talking to Trinimus actually yesterday about how there's certain religious groups that do things in certain ways. I heard it referred to as religions as technologies of shaping society, of shaping men.
Interesting, yeah.
Have you seen the Book of Eli?
Yes.
It's the Wild West.
Yeah.
And the Bible is found in...
He has a braille in the movie,
It's such a cool movie. But what I'm getting at with these ideas is...
the blueprint.
Is how we build our lives.
Yes.
How we build our communities.
Yeah.
And... for my personal story, I grew up Catholic, going through the motions, had to do all kinds of classes that I had no idea and got zero from. I did receive some acts of kindness from older leaders that were part of the church, money donations, and that spoke a lot to me. I'm like, wow, this person I don't really know just gave me some money because I got confirmed in the Catholic Church. That's amazing. That's the only thing I remember, though, from that. But... then I had some friends that went to some pretty great Christian churches like Celebration and some others around here.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of Celebration.
Went to some church retreats, and it was just awesome to be part of that community. But I was in and out of it, didn't really get to really stick with it.
You find your tribe within it,
Yeah. And then I took some philosophy classes. Yeah. And my philosophy teacher just rocked my world with all these theories and these thought experiments. And I guess I felt like I had to disprove Jesus, and I had to disprove religion, and I had to oh, that's just this, and that's just an ancient book written many times, blah, 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 and went that direction. Ultimately, because I was a young... horny kid like anybody. I wanted to have make love to women and all these things. Sure. But then I felt like the self-judgment and shame from having these thoughts as a kid. I'm like, okay, do I... because you've read the word and you know what it says. Celibate and wait till marriage, or do I go out into the world? Sober and celibate. So like two extreme views, like, ugh. Yeah. So I'm like wrestling with these ideas, and just for the most part accepted a lot of the Christian views in. Sure. Loved the Christian music. So uplifting and empowering, and just, have those concerts in your car and just singing Hillsong. Top of your concerts in the car. All those kind of things, and absolutely loved it. But then when I found plant medicine, it really came full circle, because the simple yet extremely powerful phrases in the Bible, like, love thy neighbor, or be careful of wolves in sheep's clothing. Like, all these things just sounded so deep and rang to my core. And realized that, these are solid pieces of wisdom to build your life on. Because if you ever do have the experience of losing your mind completely, having a complete ego death, if you've been obliterated, how do you piece yourself back together? If you've ever hit rock bottom, how do you build yourself back up? And it's through the words. You could either believe in lies, building on the rock. You can, and it's unfortunate. It's so sad and devastating when someone has nothing but lies in their head, and you can see the results that they get in their life versus the truth. And the truth will produce beautiful fruit.
Yes.
And I choose to believe in what I have found to be the truth. And
Yeah.
it's a mixture of, the Bible teachings and Eastern philosophy and a few things. And I piece them
Sure.
together that work for me. And
Okay.
what is the Bible and what is religion? I think I started originally talking about the difference of religious groups. As kids, we follow doctrines. We go through the motions. We get indoctrinated, right?
Yeah.
We get told what to believe and how to believe it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really go fully into the heart until you said this to me on the phone the other day too. Like you have to test it. You have to doubt it. You have to critique it. You have to wrestle with it to make it your own.
Yeah, I had that journey as well. So I did Bible school before I finished my business degrees, right? So before I finished just university business degrees, I did a deep dive into hermeneutics, the Greek and Hebrew, eschatology, end times, and I studied world religions as well, right? As well as the biblical canons. So for me, it opened my mind up to the different Eastern philosophies that you're talking about. I dove into the Gita, I dove into the Quran, I dove into all these different things, Latter-day Saints, we can go on and on, Hare Krishna, all these different belief systems. That way when I speak with people, I know where they're coming from and what their core convictions are, right? Taoism, a deeper dive. And I think a lot of times people that are in the circles and even in churches tunnel vision and are not aware of even what the other systems are and beliefs that go thousands of years back. But to have some experiential knowledge around that, like you said, and to test it, for me, it comes back to what we were talking about earlier is the rock, right? Building on the rock. And that cornerstone for me is Christ. So Christ is the chief cornerstone. When we build on that rock, when the waves and the hurricanes of life come, it will be tested and tried and it will stand true if it's built on that rock. And as it pertains to what you're talking about with some Eastern stuff and medicine, plant medicine and things of that nature, I haven't done those journeys myself, okay? And even some people who are watching may be like, it's evident JT has not done plant medicine journeys. Maybe it's for me, maybe it's not. I'm not sure if I'm against it or for it, and I just haven't embarked on it myself. I've been invited to these different things, right? Peyote, ayahuasca, et cetera, et cetera. For me, I've been doing some studies in Genesis, right? And it talks about how man is created to have dominion, rulership, kyrios, like authoritative rulership over the birds of the air, the fish of the sea, and the plant life. And what I see is, as it pertains to plant life, a lot of people get entrenched in these different things, and that plant life becomes an authoritative dominion over their life. Okay? For example, think about nicotine in cigarettes, right? Tobacco. So tobacco, that's a plant, and people get addicted. And now it's the Zyn. The kids are popping nicotine, the Zyn, the derivatives that come from that tobacco leaf, right? So now it's a plant that's having dominion over their life. They're spending all this money on this, right? You have the coca leaf. People get addicted to that. You have alcohol that comes from like grain, wheat, corn, potatoes, right? And those are that's plant life. And that has dominion and rulership over a lot of people's lives where they spiral. And these derivative elements that come from man-made creative things as well that have dominion over people's lives. So some people I think are the type that can do that and jump into that and then jump out in moderation, and then others will go down this path of I'm doing ayahuasca all the time, I'm doing this all the time. I think you have more of a moderation type mentality where you're not doing it every month, but people get in that and so it's something to look at there. Know your personality type, know what your historical track record is in the different realms of plant life and what you've been into. Right? Have you had bad trips if you've done mushrooms or this, that, and the other? Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. I'm even applying that to caffeine.
Sure, caffeine too, yeah.
And
And that comes from a bean, a plant.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We had a gentleman part of Empire that was talking about that weaning off and of the caffeine, sure, and that's something that's big. And then you look at different substitutes for it that aren't even based on a natural plant. So now you have that caffeine that's in a Red Bull, and you're just drinking Monsters and Red Bulls to keep yourself going on the hamster wheel. It's a lot.
This is a sad thing because in the car business, people are pounding down those energy drinks, coffee, just to stay up. But
yeah,
weaning off caffeine, this is the second time I do it. And this time I think I want to take a longer break.
Yeah.
Because here in the West, here in the U.S., it's go, go, go.
Yeah.
Starbucks. And it feels good, right? Caffeine neurologically is going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
And we are addicted to the high and production and moving and doing stuff. But what about the rest? What about being okay with the discomfort of... I've gotten once or twice, hey, man, you don't look so sharp today, or like you kind of look a little drained. Like, yeah, I'm just embracing the suck. I am okay with not always being okay. I am...
Yeah, accepting that part of you, yeah.
Yeah, because not that we ever really pounded down caffeine, but we're, through some other people's advice, just measuring it and reducing the amount till I get to 0. And it's been awesome.
Instead of putting a counterfeit in your body, you're embracing that. This is how I feel today.
Yes.
And that's okay. I'm going to show up anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this job and be this, even if I don't, without the artificial counterfeit to keep me going internally.
Exactly.
If caffeine is an internal, counterfeit, right? Or I mean, it's a way to drive people, right? But if it's a substitute, what is the real thing that can have you energized and alive in your spirit?
Passion.
That's a question. Where does that come from? What's your why? What are you connected to?
What drives you?
Well, yeah. What's your purpose, vision at the core? When you wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah. Like when I wake up, I'm like, let's go, baby. First thing, I'm not scrolling through stuff. It's like, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. I know what I'm connected to.
I got over the scrolling phase a little while ago because I think you just come to the point. I don't know, for every man is different, but you just scroll. Like the first step is cleansing your feed. Like if you're addicted to your phone right now, cleanse your feed so that way you're not being triggered by bad habits that you don't want to be doing, or getting fear of missing out.
Detached from certain things. You got things you were talking about earlier, releasing things you've been clinging to. Yeah. And like, those things in your life that are not serving who you want to be a year from now, and that are going to hold you back as that anchor in your life right now. So, and it could be anything. It could be that pertains to you, and you know what that is. So you have that option and choice. You have that choice to release it or to cling to it. And if you cling to it, how close is that going to get you closer to the goals, dreams, visions you have on your life and over your life? Or will you be in the same spot you are now? Are you okay with that?
It's playing with our neurochemistry. If you've seen this documentary, it came out a while ago, Social Dilemma.
Yeah. It's
just these video games and these social media and the notifications. Like, I turned off all the notifications.
Sure.
Like, I made sure my phone doesn't actually buzz.
Yeah.
I make sure that I'm in control, and if I do get on social media, it's usually for a purpose. And then there's people that I enjoy following. So you curate what you want to see. Is your phone, is your social media serving you? Which is a big one because, like you said, in the morning or at night, are you scrolling? Do you have that blue light at you? Because it's one of the biggest drainers of our energy. So you're actually talking about that routine. You wake up in the morning, you get in the Word.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What else do you do?
So I have my calendar set up the night before for the next day. I have it set up for the week and for the month, but if there's something pertinent for the next day, I'll add that, right? So I live that day to day, even though I have a bigger picture of the month, of the year, of the week, and I have that in my place, which you've seen. You've been in my place. Before I go to sleep, when I'm praying, I'm like, okay, what's going to be for tomorrow? And when I wake up, the same thing. What's going to be for today? So that's part of that core. Wow. I like to stay connected and walking in the Spirit. And sometimes I veer out of that, but get right back into it, with those who I walk with that will just send me like a scripture, or they'll call me just to encourage me. Dude, I got people who call me who are like, hey, you need anything for prayer today? And I'm like, yes. And then now I get to message other people, hey, you have anything I can pray for you today? Anything at all? Your family, your friends, anything for yourself? And dude, it's just a constant back and forth of encouraging, edification, lifting each other up. And that brings you to a higher realm of living. It brings you to a realm of living where you start to sing again. Yeah. I was talking to my grandfather on the phone last week. He called me and he goes, I don't want to know how you're doing. I want to know, when was the last time you sang? And I was like, I'm at Whole Foods right now. And he's like, what are you doing at Whole Foods? You can go to Costco and blah, blah. And he goes, anyway, he goes, did you sing today? And I was like, yeah, I was singing today. He's like, what were you singing? And he's like, I don't know that song, but. That's awesome. And he's like, when was the last time you sang? When was the last time you danced? Or if you're listening, when was it when you stopped singing? When was the last time where you realized you stopped dancing? What was that thing that kept you from operating on that high level, that took the wind out of your sails? What are those things that are pulling you away from living in that higher realm of singing and dancing and living your full power and potential in your life, where you're just bringing that smile into public places?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's such a big indicator of like how you're doing is how loose are you? Like how much do you play? How much do you laugh? How much do you sing? Which, luckily I have a music teacher. My sister-in-law.
What was that Trey Songz song in the back day? Blame it on the goose. Got you feeling loose. Blame it on
baby.
Now it's a different type of, I'm on a different juice these days, man. We were talking about the spirit, walking in the spirit. So
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It feels great. That's the real juice right there.
Yeah.
That's the juice that always renews. That's the juice that we're talking about. That will not lead to burnout.
Yes. It's sustainable. It's consistent. Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you haven't realized, God willing, we live a long life. And it's a balance of, it's a long life, but it can also be very short.
Yes.
So prepare yourself for the longevity, the marathon, but have some urgency with certain things that you want to do in life.
Yeah.
Do you practice urgency?
Practice urgency? I read a book by John Mark Comer. He was a pastor at Bridgetown Church in Portland, Oregon, and now he has a project called The Way that he's doing. Practicing the Way is what it's called, and he has a replacement pastor that came from New York there. He has a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. So, what is really urgent? So, yes, I do practice urgency, but I look at it and I say, is this really urgent? Or is it a distraction? When can I get to this? When is Holy Spirit leading me to get to it? Right? Yeah.
It's a cool idea.
I
heard it put once that success is measurable progress in reasonable time.
Measurable progress in reasonable time.
So the urgency of what I'm talking about is, when I was talking about deadlines and timelines, I love this practice of, here's my best case scenario. I'll get it to you by 1 week from now.
Okay.
Here's my worst case scenario. It's going to take me 3 weeks.
Okay.
But realistically, it's probably going to take me like a week and a half.
Yeah, so you're setting...
So like you give yourself...
expectations. Clear expectations and timelines. Yeah. That's really good, for the business world. Setting an end date, working back from there. Yeah, under-promising, over-deliver, right?
I'm doing that with something that scares me, which is skydiving.
Yeah?
Yes. I said that I was going to skydive by the time I was 30. I'm going to be 30 February 26th. And I talk about it because it's me embracing a little bit of that fear.
Yeah.
That the timeline's coming up. And I haven't done it yet. The group that I'm a part of,
clock's ticking, man.
Clock's ticking.
You're going to have to take that leap.
Oh, I know. It's only going to make it even more intense.
You're gonna have
skydiving?
You're gonna have to make that jump.
Have you made that jump?
No, I haven't. I had a buddy who's invited me a few times, and I have guys who do it professionally. One of them's like with the Red Bull. He does all the stuff with the wings. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, they live in that realm, man. The adrenaline junkies. Yeah.
I don't think it's that dangerous though.
We're not doing
Driving's
that.
more
We're not
dangerous.
doing all that. Yeah, it would be fine. They have somebody that will, is attached to you and you tandem jump, and they
It's the
take
most
care of it all.
Adrenaline
Yeah.
or risky thing that you've done. Just curious.
Adrenaline risky thing that I've done?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Climb some mountains.
Honestly,
You play hockey,
adrenaline filled. This sounds cliche, but it was when I was at the peak of everything I was living in, balcony things in Miami, and I was driving back on Alligator Alley, and I had to pull the car over, and I just started crying, man. And I felt like God talking to me, and that's when I was like, that was a big shift for me. And to choose the light, to run towards the light.
What do you mean? Go deeper. Balconies in Miami, like
That
on
was
a
one of the
party night or
risky things.
something.
I'm talking like I was in the peak of the business world, doing all the things and living the things, leading others into the things, and everything was. It looked like all the check boxes that everyone looks for success, right? The house, the relationship, the car, all the trips, all the things. So trading that and willing to trade that for a correct and an aligned relationship with higher power, with Jesus, to me.
Was that a gradual realization or something hit you?
Pretty in front of my face. So that is the most. At the moment, I thought it was risky, but it's been the most adventurous and roller coaster journey ever. I'm here today because of that. I'm sitting with you because of that. And if I had said no to that, I would still be in Florida thinking I'm, the greatest thing since sliced bread, man. In my own little bubble. And not really bringing true connection and purpose and value to men as a man that shows up for his community and for his own life. Because behind the scenes, I wasn't showing up for my life. And I wasn't bringing any value really to those around me other than dollar signs. And that wasn't my true purpose and destiny and calling on my life. And I was out of relationship with the uncreated one who created me. So I wouldn't say risky, but the most adventurous thing
Just
and
completely changing your
life-giving.
life.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Whole 180. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's this upcoming year? So it's been 12 months?
Dude, we can talk about events coming up if you want. Some cool events. So Rising Man has Dojo coming up September 6th through 9th.
I'm going.
Sacred Sons has October 5th through 6th, the Convergence. It's the 8th one that's in LA, and that's October 5th through the 8th. That's going to be really good. There'll be 300 to 400 men there, probably more.
I've been seeing some clips on
That's
social
connected
media.
through Empowered. We have Empowered Workout on Thursdays, 9 a.m. at Gym. We have at Red Rocks Church locally here in Austin, they have a mini series on Wednesdays that is for mental health. It's called Sound Mind, and it is beautiful. It's halfway through, but it's easy to catch up. I encourage people to go to that. It's on Wednesday at 7 p.m. at the Red Rocks Austin location. They have a worship night coming up Friday, August 25th, and one of the main worship leaders, I believe his name is Tyler, from the Denver locations from Red Rocks, their original locations, is coming to the Austin satellite location and leading worship for a worship night specifically devoted to that. So that's going to be really good, and I'm excited about that. Also, Brandon Lake and Phil Wickham are going to be in San Antonio. They're two of the top main worship leaders that are known in the nation. They're on the radio if you turn on Christian radio. and they're really good. I've gotten to meet both of them in the past, and they're going to be in San Antonio on August 26th, which is a Saturday. Those are both coming up relatively soon. So a lot of really good things to feed your spirit. If you're looking to do deeper dives in leadership and grow, Dojo is that thing with the Rising Man movement with Jetty Azuma. If you're looking to connect with, collective men who are in men's work and men's coaching, and you're looking to take your life to the next step there, Sacred Sons Convergence Retreat, which is in LA, October 5th through the 8th, and Deeper Faith is Red Rocks. For sure, that I'm connected to personally. There's a lot more in the community, but that's what I've personally connected to. And yeah, worship night. And Sunday services. They have Saturday and Sunday services. 4 p.m., 6 p.m. on Saturday, 9 a.m. on Sunday, 11 a.m. on Sunday. So there's gold everywhere in the community.
Beautiful. Have you attended Dojo or been to Sacred Sons Convergence?
I've been to Sacred Sons. I went to the one last year in October. It was at Daniel Boone Camp in North Carolina. I did go to that, and that was life-changing for me. And it brought me back to a lot. It was called The Gathering, and it was beautiful. And I met a lot of really cool people that live in Austin, Texas. I met David Sutcliffe there. He was on my team, on the Dragon Spirit team, with Aber Basiat, who also lives in Austin. James McCrae was on that team, who lives in Austin. Words by Vibrations. He runs a poetry club called Sunflower Poetry at Sukha Yoga. Every other Thursday, I believe, or once a month now. Just a lot of high caliber men who are leaders in the community, who are seeking to bring value and go deeper in relationships. And David Sutcliffe just got back from Romania. He was doing an interview with Andrew Tate on psychotherapy. Yeah, and it was just posted today. Yeah, so you get to see a deeper dive. Yeah, David lives in Austin. He's a good friend of mine. I've learned a lot from David and the questions he asks. He asks a lot of really deep, rich questions, and David and I are connected in certain communities as well where we do Sweat Lodge. So.
David Sinclair? You said his name
Sutcliffe.
was? Sutcliffe, okay.
Yeah, David Sutcliffe.
David Sutcliffe. I'm excited to learn and see what that one was all about.
He's awesome, man. He was actually an actor in L.A. for a long time. And he was Rory's dad on Gilmore Girls. Yeah. And then he was in movies like Under the Tuscan Sun, if you've seen that. But, I mean, what he does now and these days is he helps you move emotion. Yeah. And psychotherapy and a lot more. He does workshops, retreats. But David's become a really good friend, and he just operates on another level of depth as it pertains to questioning and getting people to think for themselves and move some deeper trauma work from the inside and bring that out and learn how to relate to it, learn how to navigate that so it doesn't stay under the rug, but you learn how to navigate and give it a voice. Not let it lead in selfishness, but give it a voice and just let it be there and show up and accept that part of yourself too, those shadow parts.
Powerful. I would love to talk about that, because without the instruction, without the only piece of advice that I heard from this older Christian book, I think it's called The Servant. Yeah. And in the line there, one of my mentors always highlighted, if you feel moved to speak, speak. And through my journeys, when I was integrating my shadow, and for those who don't know, my definition is there is something right now, if I were to ask you, what's your deepest, darkest secret you haven't told anybody? That's probably your shadow. That's one aspect of it. I'm definitely not an expert on this subject, but...
Or it could be a manifestation of something that was an internal desire in you, or something you wanted to...
Yeah, it could be a lot of things, and it could be anything that you repress, or anything that you hide, or anything that you just don't shine the light on. And as I go through my healing journeys, giving a voice to all my fears, all my darkness, all my judgment, all my shame, all my guilt, just speaking it, putting it out there. And luckily it was all around my wife, because for a few years we were each other's therapist, and what a beautiful woman she was for me, because she just only had eyes and a heart of love. The safest space you could imagine. And
safe, confidential space.
And it just, what it really looked like for me, I had to feel it to heal it. We were talking about earlier about numbness and learning how to feel again. And
feel it,
when I first started doing this work, it felt like I had years of repressed emotions. It felt like my spectrum of emotions was just so limited.
Sure.
When there's such a vastness to it. I had toxic positivity.
Mm.
I had a bad relationship with anger and, and different boundaries. And I had so much to learn. And so I started learning how to feel again. And I got comfortable with crying, and I got comfortable with those emotions. And now that we're talking about it and I think about it, a good barometer for myself, and it's actually been a while, is when is the last time I had a good cry? When is the last time I let myself tear or just really feel that emotion? It's actually been a little while, so I'm due for some maintenance, for some spiritual cleansing. Maybe I need to go to Red Rocks and to the worship and just let that spirit in me or something. Like, there's methods out there to crack a man open, which is vital.
Yeah.
Tell me about shadow work.
Man, that's so good. You said, about being a man. I think that's part of being what it means to be a man, right? Is being authentic and genuine, knowing how to ask for help when you need it, and just being transparent, right? Not sharing the deepest parts with everyone, because that's not for everyone. It's for certain people that have confidentiality and trust. Some people don't have the full bandwidth to hold your deepest, darkest secrets. That's not something for a podcast, but it's something for people that are in your inner circle that you've built trust with, maybe starting with that one person. Yeah. So, and you keep that in for so long, it'll eat away at you.
It does.
Yeah, it feels good to, share it in a safe, confidential space. That's part of a lot of the men's work that we do. And we get to carry each other, and you shared that about the beautiful, safe place that you have with your wife. And marriage is a mirror, right? And what we were talking about earlier, where it is fiery, it can be difficult, but it burns away the things in you to make room for the better. So you're living in that realm of tension and growth and expansion and contraction, expansion and contraction. And with that, you open up more vulnerability in your heart. You open up more bandwidth in yourself, like a rubber band, that you can carry other men's pain. And you intentionally put yourself in those containers, right? So you don't walk in full selfishness all the time. You're walking in selflessness. You're intentionally putting yourself in those containers, like church, right? Like in the community, the assembly, the gathering, the assembly of God's people. You're intentionally putting yourself in a group workouts and empowered collective brotherhood. You're intentionally putting yourself into men's work like Rising Man, the phoenix coming out of the ashes, and around men who are leaders of men. And you're becoming more and more of that. And that's super powerful, even at like your age. So I see that in you. And a lot of gold that I've gotten is from you in those circles. So I honor that. And we were talking about what it means to be a man, right? And integrating that shadow. We've already talked about living lives of worthy sacrifice. I mean, showing up for yourself and your family and the community.
Did you have a good relationship? Do you have it? Seems like you did. You mentioned him once or twice with your father and your grandfather. You have a good relationship.
Yeah. My dad and my grandfather speak daily, weekly. We're really tight, and I think that's integral to the community. Is we need more spirits of the Father. We need more people who are in a position to give and bring value emotionally, mentally, financially to the younger generations, especially in the realms of wisdom and the spirit and in belief system as it pertains to bringing people back to Christ and the Bible and setting that correct foundation, just correct leadership and guidance, and being there and being available for the younger generation for guidance. Without vision, for lack of vision, the people perish. So yeah, that's something for me that I don't strive to be. I am, and I'm growing in more and more and more. So as I get mentored from spiritual fathers and different people who mentor and lead and teach me, I pour that out, and it's a constant moving of coming from here to me and then out like a flowing river. So I know that sounds a little cheesy, but that's the model.
I love that. Yeah.
And it's a movement, man. If you're a giver, you're a river. What is it? I mean, what will be the opposite? If you're a taker, you're a lake. And you get that like bacteria. You're stagnant. Yeah, I don't want to be stagnant, man. I want to be moving, flowing, full of life.
Hearing it, passing it along. Slowly
and gently sifting the gems that are within.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Love that. And the biggest thing that I've seen with this younger generation is this is actually why Andrew Tate has been prolific, because he speaks it in such a strong matter of fact. The pendulum, they say, has gone too extreme to one side, to where a lot of men are weak now. A lot of men are broken.
Sure.
And women have had to carry the banner for so long because they had to fill the void that the men were supposed to fill.
Yeah.
Because women, let's be honest, I joke around this all the time with my wife, because she's a career woman. She loves conquering, making money, business. Like, she's great at it. She does it like a queen. You know, they treat her with tons of respect at work. They open the door for her. They play the music she wants to play. Everybody else gets pizza, but did you want, salmon or something like that? Did you want something better? And
I had salmon last night, man. It was good.
Yep. We eat that a lot.
A lot of salmon.
But
okay, omega-3s.
The thing that I know that she would love is just to be in her feminine and to still work hard the way she wants to, but for herself in creative pursuits, which is something that we're going to transition to, because
I like what you just said. You said a thing that I know she would love. You're putting her first, and her needs and her desires first. And that is, I think, a true sign of true masculinity, right? And that balance, and what it means to be a father and a husband, where you're coming from a servant's mindset, you saying a thing I know she would love. Yes. And then you're creating a space for her to be herself, is what you said and what I heard you say. And a lot of times that doesn't show up in relationships, right? I've failed in that, where I've been selfish and I haven't focused on putting others first. So now I know through experiential knowledge, and now who I am today, I can put others first and serve. I think there's a scripture about that. The Son of Man did not come to serve, but be served. That's incorrect. It's the opposite way around. I thought you would laugh in that. You didn't laugh in that?
I was wondering, is he going to explain that some more?
No, here's what the actual scripture is. You ready? I was waiting for you to process that and laugh. All right, so the actual scripture is this. The Son of Man did not come to be served, but he came to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. And you see it in the picture of him putting on the towel and washing the disciples' feet and coming to serve. So that's a powerful, symbolic, visual picture to bring into your marriage, right? And you're already doing that. And that's beautiful to see that you're putting her desires and needs before your own. And that's what, God did first. He loved us first.
That's a powerful practice. I'm glad you actually brought that up, because I wanted to share that. One of the most powerful things I did with this one particular church, they did have a ceremony where all the men washed each other's feet. Okay. And that was something that was just so humbling.
Probably within the context of maybe like a whole weekend type thing. You don't just do it randomly. There's a build up to it. There's a build up. Yeah, relationship. It's not just like, hey, guess what we're doing today, brother?
No, they do it in the all right time and place.
Time and place, context,
But this one quote that I love is, those that exalt themselves will be humbled, and those that are humble shall be exalted. And not that, you're doing things for attention or look at me, I'm giving and I'm doing all these things. It's truly the more you give and the more you serve others, the more you get as a byproduct. Yeah. Especially in your relationship. Because as I was speaking to my wife, that I want to have those roles where I'm providing and I'm working, and she's at home and she gets to make the home. And in fact, everything that you see in this apartment is because she's had a hand or a touch in it. Because your apartment's pretty nice too, but a lot of bachelor pads that I've seen are just fold out table, no furniture, just a big old TV. Yeah. And you can tell there's woman's touch hasn't made it home yet. But the truth is,
thanks for recognizing that, man. I try to make it, homey and welcoming.
You have this polar bear skin rug right there in the middle.
Sure.
But I joke with her because, babe, because you know she kicks ass at work. She makes money. She's very successful. And I'm like, babe, you can keep working, and I'll be at home with the kids. As soon as you have the baby, you know, just make sure I'm fed and make sure I'm good here at home.
Are you guys gonna have kids?
We want to. We're ready.
I want to be a dad, man. I want to have kids in the future.
It's something that as I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, in 20, 25 years, when I'm a grandfather, I'm this age, and then older. So like, there's a sweet spot age or window, even for a man, that seems like the new thing now is to have your kids when you're in your late 30s and 40s for men now. But
yeah, I'm seeing that for sure. And I mean, you can bring a lot more emotional balance and self-regulation into that. So there's not as many emotional highs and lows, but there's a lot more love and wisdom infused. And I'm also seeing a coming back of the families where the grandparents and the parents are involved, as opposed to just people doing it themselves and putting kids in daycare and stuff. But everyone has their own model. But if you think about, I mean, the old Jewish community models, how they would run things, they would build on the houses. They would have the big plot of land, and they would have the grandparents there. Then you have the parents, and they would grow. And that way,
they do that.
That way, say like, you know, the dad and the mom they're doing their thing during the day. The grandchild is spending time with the grandparents, and they're growing in that wisdom, right? The way the grandparents speak and talk, and that way the kids are growing up beyond their time, beyond their years. And it's like a catalyst.
It's powerful.
It's a catalyst, and there's an impartation of wisdom through that. So, you know.
That's big.
Yeah.
I lived with a family in Hawaii that had such a big plot of land that everybody lived at.
Yeah.
And it takes a village to raise a kid.
Yeah.
And so that's actually, you know, why I'm glad we're connected and the friends that I'm making, because I want to have a strong village, a strong community for my kids.
Yeah.
For our kids to grow up together.
Yeah.
That's a vision that's down the road.
Yeah.
And we have to build that community first, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to bring in a family and then just have nobody to support you. So that's actually something that I have thought about, but I haven't thought about too much in a while. But that's a big factor, that
people you can trust on a deeper level, and you know, that kind of community and tribe. That's good, and I believe that's being built out here. We're in the beginning stages of that, but it's being built out heavily here in Austin, and figuring out who, you know, people are, who we want to run with, who we want to grow with, see ourselves with 5 years from now. And that's why these communities like Empowered, right, are so good, because it's men who are dedicated and devoted to growth for themselves and their community and bring value. And I'll continue to say that. Yeah. And some of my personal coaches are in that community, and I gain a lot of gold from them. So,
otherwise you're just going to maybe go to the soccer game and have to be friends with those parents that may or may not be the best. Sometimes you see a lot of toxic parenting.
I kicked off my new year with Vladimir Montoya at a sober house event. That was intentional, and we had a teaching, right, about vision and setting vision and going deeper in clarity and purpose and what you want to see in the next 3 months and all of that. And that was a beautiful way to start the year, right?
Whoa, that sounds cool. Was that Empowered or Vlad?
It was just something with him, you know, and he wanted to push like those who don't want to go out and, you know, usher in the new year and ring in the new year with a bunch of champagne and getting buck wild and then wasting your day tomorrow. Here's a space where we want to just dial in, slow it down. We had guitars in there, and it was just very organic and beautiful. So, yeah. If you ever watch this, Vladimir, thank you for doing that, because that was foundational in setting the new year in an intentional way. So I believe in what you're doing there, and thank you for what you're creating. It's powerful.
Yeah, thanks, Vlad. We love you.
Thank you.
And what a year it's been.
Yeah.
2023 has been my best year ever. And it's only going to continue to grow. And love what you were saying, too, on planning and setting an intention for your next days and your weeks. That's something that I'm working on now, because sometimes my wife and I, we used to just Netflix, right? Watch some stuff.
And that's fine every once in a while, right?
It is. There's some good stuff to watch.
Boom, and just...
We're actually watching the original Fast and Furious because it just came out. And dang, man, it's old.
I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Oh my. Are you a cop? The movie's wild.
Did you watch it too?
No, I haven't. I remember, man. My memory is, it's good. Yeah.
All these Honda Civics souped up.
Oh man, with the spoilers on them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I love it. I haven't seen the Fast and Furious movies in a while.
It's nostalgic for sure. But for the most part, like having things in balance because we're doing that once or twice a week. The other days, I'm having my evening routine. Yeah. Stretching.
Okay.
Planning the next day.
Yeah.
Meditating as well before bed. And the target is to be in bed by 9:30. Lights out. And
you feel great and you wake up early and get some stuff done before you even start going to the workout.
Sleep is a superpower.
That's gold.
It is.
Sleep is a superpower. Which
I'm mentioning because I don't really party at all. Like it's something that I've never really resonated with. I don't like to stay up late. I just have a really good sleeping gene. My melatonin is just strong.
You know what they were talking about last night at Red Rocks? The second session last night? Session number 4 out of the 4, or out of the 8 they're going to do, but session number 4 was the last session they did last night. And it was how to get better rest. So, yeah, man, you're in sync.
Well, a while back I listened to Sean Stevens' Sleep Smarter.
Yeah.
Darking out the room, no screens before.
Different
even
lighting.
Your caffeine.
Your lighting and your phone, the red light, yeah.
I have those dimmers, kind of like these lights.
Automatic, yeah.
And I put the eye mask on too because you just wanted to make it as dark as possible. It's about how deep you can get into your sleep. And I had some wild dreams last night. But
there's all kinds of stuff with melatonin, valerian root, and different things. Some people swear by certain things. There's a deeper side, if you're really into it, with more of the scientific names and the backstories and studies and percentages and references and all of it. Andrew Huberman. So Andrew Huberman has a lot of gold around that. If you just Google Andrew Huberman sleep, yeah, that's good too. So if you're interested in that type of thing.
Like you were saying earlier, there's this community, right? Austin has such a great one. Let's call it the mindful community, the spiritual community. What do we call it?
Some people call it conscious.
Conscious.
Yeah.
And then you have the titans like Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman, Tim Ferriss, Lex Friedman. Like a lot of them are in Austin.
They're pioneers. Cool. They're pioneers and trailblazers who were doing this 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's what it was. They started it.
And they're also the best.
So because they've been growing. Yeah, high level of respect for those leaders, and I'm thanking them for trailblazing and being pioneers.
And those voices,
Lewis and Clark, if you will.
Yeah, it really is. It has emerged. It's taken place from what the voices used to be.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, it was MTV and a lot of celebrities, and those were the voices that kind of led you in whatever ways they wanted to.
A lot of materialistic and propaganda, sure.
Exactly. Then who knows when I started waking up that maybe I shouldn't really be watching the news. Maybe I should get my own research or look for different voices instead of just getting fed the narrative. Yeah. COVID really brought that into the forefront that, when COVID was first coming out, something about fear, it's like they call it fear porn, like where you kind of just draw on like the doomsday or the zombie apocalypse that's coming, like those, if it bleeds it leads.
Fixate on it.
Yes, I did.
Fear porn.
That's what they call it, fear porn.
Okay.
And because that's what the media thrives on, right? Like shooting happened down the road over here, or all these kind of things.
They'll just cycle it and just show it again and again, and then comment on it with different people. And okay, I guess I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Once I got over it in 2020, I just completely shut off the news and haven't looked back since.
A lot of that stuff can be distractions from what's really going on under the surface too, and a lot of the bigger ones, right, in the fear realm, are strategically positioned in timing, so that you look at that instead of looking at something else that's going on.
Yes.
So I'm not going to start on any of that right now, but I do know for a fact there are distractions. Yeah. There are squirrel decoys. Yeah. So something to look at. Now I question when something big pops up that I'm like, what else is going on right now in the timeline that's being shielded, because it's something that's going to impact the generations in a lot of times a negative way from what we've seen historically in the track record. So that's something to look at too. Yeah.
I think we're in a in-between limbo. Like, there's bound to be some kind of catastrophe or another pandemic or whatever.
Yeah.
And
it's all written. It's all written, man.
It is.
And it's coming. So that's why we have to stick together and stay in brotherhood, because things are going to get hard. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Before the return, man, of the King of Kings, that's going to get harder
and harder. Like, the more false flags, the more pandemics, the more scarcity, the more fear, the more climate change, and all these scary hot buttons that they like to push on. They're taking more and more of the freedoms away. They're seeing how much more can we get away with? How much more can we control everybody? And it's people like you and me to be the voices of reason, to get people to think, critically think, and help each other out.
For sure. This has been great, man. Thank you for having me on.
JT.
Yeah.
My man.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Everybody, hit the like button. If you made it this far, you're one of the true fans. Leave a comment. We'll get to everyone. JT, where can they find you? You on Instagram?
Instagram, JT Linde, JT Linde. So.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Take care.